Hi guys, welcome to the podcast. Before we start, we just want to introduce you to our sponsor. Our sponsor is the Twitter handle @MugsNFL. They're a company that offer a range of custom items such as mugs, t-shirts, crewneck jumpers, and hoodies, all customized with your favorite sports player or your sports team. That can be any sport ranging from the NFL through to the NBA to UK sports. All you have to do for an extra 10% off your order is drop them a message on Twitter quoting our podcast, that is the Hardwood Hoops podcast, and they'll get 10% off your next order. Cheers and enjoy the show. Hello, guys, and welcome back to episode 3 now of the Hardwood Hoops podcast. I'm joined as always by Ben. Ben, how you doing, mate?
Hello. Yeah, very good. Very hot today. It's baking outside.
Yeah, true. It's warm. It's like we're in Orlando. Ready to go.
Well, I don't know how I'd feel about that at the moment, but we'll get on to that.
Yeah, true. Very, very true. Right, had some good feedback again from last week, which is good. So I'm sure we both want to thank everyone for listening, and we've had quite a lot of people on Twitter sharing the podcast, which is nice. It's always good to get like the NBA UK community helping each other out, which is nice.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you everybody so much. It's an absolute joy getting to do it, and the fact we get listeners is even better.
Definitely. Right, cool. So in terms of NBA news, we're going to start there, and then after that, we're going to go on to an interview that we're doing with Rich Barrett of the NBA UK fans. So we're excited for the episode, and it's a really good interview with Rich. So I'm sure everyone will enjoy it.
Yeah, can't wait.
Cool. And in terms of news, right, first item, there's optimism across the league still, which is good, that we're on track for an Orlando return, even though in the news you can see the cases across America, to be honest, are going mad. But especially Orlando, it's actually one of the worst hit areas now, which not ideal for the NBA with their plans. But apparently the staff, one of the issues was staff coming to and from the park with the increase of the COVID in the area. But apparently they are trying to do a deal where more staff actually stay on site for the NBA. The people that are going to be dealing with the cleaning and the food and stuff on their hotels, they're trying to convince more people with more financial benefits, I guess, to try and stay on site, which I think, obviously, if they want to do it and it's good for their family money-wise, I think it could be a good thing, and less risk, I guess, of the virus coming in and out that way, Ben.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think the NBA are approaching it very sensibly because the workers of Orlando are unionized, so they have to go through all the correct channels and offer them the right thing. And from the start, I think everybody knows the most sensible way of doing this is by having those people that will be tending to the rooms, to the cooking, to the cleaning, to whatever it may be. Them staying within the bubble is obviously the best way to do this. But like you said, you don't know how that affects the workers' family situations. Are they willing to give up 3 months of their lives for potentially a bit of extra cash? Do they want to risk going in and out every day? It's a real tricky one to work with. And I think if they can get the deal so that the staff remain on site the whole time, that is the best outcome. But it's going to be tricky to get that deal.
Yeah, I think it will. I think obviously you're going to get an initial group of people maybe that want to take that deal, potentially just NBA fans, because obviously they get to spend more time with the players. Like, imagine if you're an 18, 19-year-old working this is like, and you're not in a very good position financially, especially after Disney Orlando being shut for so long. You could work in the hotel and you could get more money than maybe you would normally, and you're also the person that gets to, I don't know, help feed James Harden, for example. That could be really good for certain people of that area. So I think it's going to be a case by case basis, really, on who wants to do that for the staff in that context.
Yeah, I hope they don't try and stretch themselves too thin and do too much, because they're planning on having the NBA there. The paying customers are going to start coming back. I know they've got some, as we call it, football or soccer, going on in Orlando as well. And it's, I know it's a big place, but you don't want to, like I said, stretch yourself too thin and end up ruining it all and having to send everybody home and not making any money at all, when actually maybe a smaller portion consistently and done to a high level is going to work out better. Only time will tell.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the NBA's financial clout could help, and their reputation. I think they might be top of the pecking order in terms of A, financially for the park and for the company, but B, also in terms of media presence. I think obviously more people are going to care about the NBA than lower level soccer, or even just people visiting the park when certain rides are even closed due to social distancing. So, and another on that note, really, we've also heard of the guidelines being sent out, which you can read on the Athletic if you've got a subscription from Shams. We're not going to go through it all because I can't remember if the memo sent to teams is 400 or 500 pages.
Yes.
So yeah, we're not going to go through it all, but it just highlights, if you read some of the key things on Twitter or on the Athletic itself, it just highlights that they've thought of everything. They're doing as much as they can, little bits and bobs in terms of like how often rooms get cleaned, all the things the players can do when they're there, all the checks that are going to be done, the saliva test that we mentioned last week, insurance, which has now been granted by the NFLPA, and increased insurance. That was a key factor. That's been done. So I think that memo and a bit of progress has been had, but also as part of that memo, they started testing as of, I think it was yesterday in America. All teams started their daily and weekly testing. They've been doing temperature tests before this, but now they're doing full-on COVID-19 tests at every team. So a little bit of progress there as well, Ben.
Yeah, it's really positive for us, at least as fans. Yeah, the insurance they've managed to get hold of covers injury and anything COVID related during this time in Orlando, which is really good, especially for those guys that are a bit tentative about going because they're coming to a contract year and they don't want to get injured. They want to perform. They want the big money next season, whatever that may be. I know there's going to be a change in salary cap, etc., but they don't want to risk that. So that was really, really good. And this whole thing is going to be developing and changing as we go, and everybody involved needs to be flexible, which is so difficult because it's such a serious thing for you to approach them with a question and then to say, well, it's this for now, but we might change it to this or we might do that. It seems a little bit flimsy, but it's the only way they can be at the moment. And as we've said from the start, I think Adam Silver's got a sensible head on him. I mean, if cases rise too much in Florida and hospitals begin to struggle, I'm sure he'd be the first one to say, right, we're going to pull the plug on this NBA experiment and send everybody home because we don't want to risk the health of our players, even though it's bringing us in money or whatever. I think he's sensible enough to know when's a good time to call it quits and when's a good time to press on.
Yeah, definitely. I think also just it's bad optics. You think some people start maybe moving it to New York. New York's obviously dramatically logistically changing it again is going to be a headache. The plan very good, very detailed, and almost you need to now on the start date really in terms of cases and people wearing masks, etc. I just think they need to be a little bit lucky, and I don't think moving it's the right thing. In terms of the testing, we know that Nikola Jokic is positive for coronavirus. I believe he was home in Serbia. Is that right, Ben, when he tested positive?
Yeah, home in Serbia, tested positive, but they're hoping to get him flying back out to America, well, by the end of the week, depending on how well he recovers, the symptoms he shows, and follow-up tests. But we know this is gonna happen with testing going forward. I mean, Toronto, the Raptors are already out in Orlando, and players are going to test positive, and it's a good way of doing it now, I think, while it's just the training camps, to see how that system works with plucking out individual players, letting everybody else carry on, and hoping it doesn't snowball and spread around the league and around the players. Because we've still got time now to to play around with it and see how it goes. It's Jokic is the first sort of marquee all-star player that's come out now, of the ones that are going, saying he's got it, and the reaction to it seems to have been fairly sensible, fairly level-headed, and hopefully that can continue going forward.
Yeah, I think, like you said, we definitely knew there'd be positive cases, so it's absolutely nothing to worry about in terms of one positive case, especially the fact I believe at the moment he's asymptomatic. So in terms of his health, which is obviously more important than basketball, he's currently fine, which is obviously what we want. We send our best wishes to him, but it does highlight that we're going to get positive cases, and I think most people already knew that, but there could be a part of the public that thought, oh, it's going down, or it's going down in Europe, so it must be okay in America if they don't read the news. But we're going to get positive tests, and this is just almost the start of it, I guess. Good that it's picked up early and before he's in Orlando as well, those to minimize spread, I guess. But this led us on to thinking about one thing, I think. Did you believe that maybe we should be reducing the teams, not just because of his positive test, but because of the general news we've just spoken about? What are your thoughts on reducing the teams? I think you had some views on maybe if we should do it a little bit less number of teams, or maybe 16 teams.
Yeah, with the news coming out today, which again we're sort of covering, you look at the players that have said, okay, I don't think I'm going to risk it for whatever reason it may be. You've got Trevor Ariza from the Trailblazers. He's not going because he has a 1 month visitation with his son. He's got an ongoing court case at the moment, and fair enough, he wants to spend that time with his son. But he's from one of those fringe teams. You've got, you said it was Bertans from the Wizards.
Yeah, that's right.
He's starting to pull out. The Wizards are probably looking at this going, even if we scrap our way out into that 8th seed, we're going to get swept by the Bucks first round. What's the point? So it's kind of like, well, if we're starting to do this, why risk it? Why not maybe not go to sort of, I don't know, the 16 teams, maybe go to get rid of the Wizards and just you've got your 8 playoff teams in the East, and then perhaps do a sort of a mini playoff between those teams that are close in the West. Maybe even if you want it to do just a best of one or whatever, or round robin, they each play each other once. Whoever's got the best score at the end sits in that 8th seed. So take the Grizzlies in 8th, Portland, the Pelicans, and maybe the Kings if you want to go down that low. Scraps the Suns, scraps Spurs. Let those guys play one game each. Whoever's got the best score at the end goes in the 8th seed, and then go straight into the playoffs, just to reduce that risk again, reduce that, potential chance of people catching the virus and spreading it and on all those things. I equally understand why they're doing it. They want to get reps in for the players so they don't get injuries. They want to make their money back, which they've been losing. Business-wise, the way they're doing it at the moment makes the most sense. But does it make the most sense health-wise? We'll have to wait and see, and only time will tell.
Yeah, definitely. I think we could see a change. I think if I'm honest, I think I would say it's going to stay the same. But if cases continue to rise, which obviously we can't predict, and more players get it, or more players don't want to play from certain teams, then there could then be a change. I think might need a bit more push in one direction. I'm not quite sure, which is the first time I think we disagreed on this podcast. I'm not quite sure the one-off round robins is a good idea. I just think it's a bit disadvantaged to the 8th seed. But I do agree that the Wizards, in general, they're quite pointless. But in this scenario, the Wizards, I think, are pointless. And I think the Suns are pointless. I think, I don't think it should be any bigger than 20. If they want to make it smaller and change the format again and rethink it, like you said, they can look at options, but I don't think it should be 22. I think it should be 20 as an absolute maximum. I think the Wizards don't need to be there, and I think the Suns don't need to be there. I believe with the play-in tournaments, there's no way I don't think the Wizards can't. They have to win 10 games straight, so they're 8 regular season games, and the play-in games to have any chance of even getting to the 8th seed. A, they're not going to do that. They're not won 10 games in a row all season. But B, obviously, the competition's higher. the teams that you're more likely to beat, like for a Wizards, say whether it be a Knicks or a Hawks, for example, they're not there. The teams they're playing are a lot higher quality than the teams that they would normally get wins against. So I think teams like that. Same with the Suns. I think they're almost they're there for the money and they're there to add games and to add TV time, but their chance of actually playing in the playoffs is not even minimal. I think it's basically zero. So I think you're almost adding bodies to the mix for risk, which I don't think is right. If I'm honest, I don't think that's right. I think if they can find a way to take those two teams out at least, then they should. I don't think they should go. I think you should either go 16 or 20. I don't think you should do any others. But we'll have to see what the league does. And like you've said many times, mate, Adam Silver is really intelligent. B, he listens to players, he listens to media, he listens to fans. And I think if he thinks it's right to reduce it, I think he will. But money does talk to an extent, and the owners could also have their say in whether they want it to be less than 22.
Yeah, true. Yeah. He'll take everyone's point of view into account, and I'm sure, I'm not going to complain if we end up, they all stay, because it's more basketball for us. But in terms of just, looking after player welfare and the employees, everyone involved, it's maybe too big of a risk. We will see.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with the Wizards, again, I think Bertans is a prime example of why maybe the Wizards shouldn't go. He's had 2 ACL injuries. He wants a big contract coming up next. If we're honest, I probably think the Wizards are most likely to re-sign him at a big number.
Yeah.
He's actually going to go to training camp with the Wizards before the tournament, but not actually go and play just because he doesn't want to risk any injury, which I think highlights the fact why a team like the Wizards shouldn't be there. And just going on to mention a couple more players, we've touched on 2 there with Ariza and Bertans, but DeMarcus Cousins has come out, where his agent has. Seems like he's on for next season. He's not going to play. He wants to get right. He's had a lot of injuries. We all know that. And he's probably only got one more big contract in him, and that's if he performs well next season. So he's going to miss. What are your thoughts on Cousins before we go on to the last person on this little list we've made?
Yeah, it makes sense. I completely get it. Why, he pushed himself to get back for that playoff run, and look where it got him. Why rush it? Good on him making that decision early and just committing to it. I love watching DeMarcus Cousins play. I wish I was a big man so I could play like him, but I want to see him back at full health next season. Wherever he plays, I want to see prime DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Heat were very well rumoured. That'd have been cool, like for this playoff run. It probably could have helped them, but he'll know his body more than us. But a fully fit DeMarcus Cousins next season helps a young team like the Heat, just as an example, even more than maybe he could help. If he didn't sign for one of the big 3 teams this season, his impact was probably going to be limited due to that fitness and that injury history. So I think next season, for a team like the Heat or maybe even a lower team that want to pay him more money, I think he could be a huge factor. And last on the list, one we just want to cover off, Avery Bradley. Plays for Ben's favourite player's favourite team, but he's not going to be going to Orlando. He's going to miss out. I think it's due to family reasons. I think he cited. He's one of the higher profile ones in terms of, I think he's got the 6th most amount of minutes this season on the Lakers overall with injuries and stuff. And he's not going to be playing. So that's a big loss for the Lakers, maybe defensively. But once again, like we've said, maybe right for him and his family. What are your thoughts on Bradley? And I know there's someone else that you want to mention who's a podcast favourite alongside Avery.
Well, they're going to miss him. I mean, the last time they played the Clippers, he put up 24 points, which, that isn't something you can just pluck out of nowhere. But again, Avery Bradley's making the decision that he needs to make for his family. His son has some issues with his breathing, I believe, and Avery doesn't want to risk coming out of this NBA bubble and bringing something back to his household. So, again, hats off to him for giving up the money and sticking by his family. I think it's fantastic for him. The Lakers will miss him, but fantastic news for NBA fans is the strong favourite to replace him is J.R. Smith. The man who doesn't know what the score is back.
And probably going back to our days when we were a bit younger, probably what you'd say one of my favourite players of all time when we were probably 14. I used to talk about him more than nearly any other player not named Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, he was up there because he was on your Nuggets team with Melo, and then went across to New York with him, didn't he?
Yeah, sixth man of the year when he went, and the highest scoring player ever in China, and then moved back to the Knicks, sixth man of the year award. A little bit downhill since then, but he has won a title, which is pretty cool. So what are your thoughts on him? It's not official yet, but the rumours seem to be that's who's going to take that Bradley roster spot. Having Bradley in your team, having J.R. Smith in your team, which one's more likely to win you a title, would you say, with this Lakers team?
Ooh. I'm going to say Bradley for now, just because of continuity's sake. He's been there, he's trained, he knows the system, and he fits in well, clearly. He's a versatile defender for guards and some of the smaller wings, and he'll get stuck in no matter what it is you need to do. If, JR turns up and is switched on, he can fill that gap. He can hit those threes. He can defend a couple of positions. It's just which JR are you going to get? I mean, he could plug in perfectly because we know he can hit threes, and we've seen teams that surround LeBron James with 3-point shooters are very successable. So with him and Dion Waiters now, who can hit a three,
they've got to be on their own together though, in a bubble environment.
Yeah, it's going to be that side of things. But I think him being with LeBron, I think LeBron will be able to keep a close eye on them and keep them in line. You'd have thought, but yeah, we'll see. It'll add to the drama at least.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think they're going to hit more threes, shoot more threes, and probably score more points, give up more points on the other end. So I think it probably will help them, if I'm honest, in earlier rounds in terms of letting LeBron maybe take some time off the floor, just in terms of scoring points. But maybe in the later rounds against whether it's a Bucks or a Clippers team, for example, I think that might be the time where on the defensive end, Bradley's missed a little bit more than maybe he is in the earlier rounds.
Yeah, they'll have to lean on those bigs in the middle.
Yeah, for sure. So last little bit of news, we've got a little bit of front office news just to end on before we flip to our interview. So first, just a little bit of news. The Pistons hired Troy Weaver as GM. He was an exec at OKC. He was there, and apparently, according to Woj, he's instrumental in both the Paul George and Chris Paul trades. He's also instrumental in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think. Apparently, he's been a big mentor towards him. So we don't know a lot about him. He says he wants to keep Blake Griffin. He wants to keep Derrick Rose. He wants to use them in his plan, with whatever that plan will be, and how much they're going to use him. I'm not sure. They just say this a lot of the time. But have you got any just initial basic thoughts on that hire and maybe where the Pistons should go with it?
Sounds like a brilliant hire for the Pistons. If all of that is true, he's had a hand in those trades. That's incredible work from him. So it seems like the Pistons are going to be in good hands. What he decides to do with those pieces in Rose and Griffin, I am looking forward to see whether he, goes for a trade or goes for a rebuild. Who knows? I'm excited just to see the Pistons have a direction and not just sort of be flipping and flopping between making decisions and what they're going to be. So, yeah, I think this is a great hiring from them. Yeah, brilliant. Thumbs up for that one.
Nice. And then last little bit of news, not fully news as such because nothing's happened in terms of a hire, but the Knicks, who are on another search for head coach, they've added more names to their list. So I think the initial list, had many people on, but notable names were Tibbs and Woodson. But the latest news, is that Jason Kidd and Mike Brown have also interviewed for the role. If I'm honest, if you read a lot of reports, it's who hasn't interviewed for the role. It's probably
it's a shorter list.
a shorter list than who has. but just want to get your initial thoughts on maybe the latest additions to the list and Kidd and Mike Brown, but also let you know that I'm going through a bit of basketball turmoil, Ben.
Oh,
Because I've had a lot of people. I've been added to a new group, NBA UK fans, who Rich is part of, WhatsApp group, and a lot of people have been talking about MSG. And a couple of lads from there, after me telling them that I've been to Madison Square Garden so many times, they were asking for travel advice, which was cool. One of them's 18; he's never been to America before, so that was quite cool. That he messaged me to ask. And talking about Carmelo Anthony, who might sign for the Knicks again next year. Talking about MSG, talking about Knicks, talking about New York, as I'm a big New York fan in terms of the city, is getting me some turmoil, Ben, that maybe I need to get that Knicks shirt back out of the closet. And
dust it off.
I know. The worst basketball team in the history, but the best city, and it's just stressing me out, all these people going to New York when I'm not.
I think it's stressing the NBA out that they're not a good franchise anymore.
Yeah, definitely. What are your thoughts on A, those names, and B, me getting the Knicks jersey out of the wardrobe?
Let's tackle the first bit. I'm worried about the Jason Kidd one because I hope they don't hire him for short-term gain, which is he used to coach Giannis. That means Giannis will be more likely to come to us. History dictates, New York, you aren't very good at bringing marquee players to you. Get a coach that can develop your young talent and stop trying to make the playoffs. I am a fan of Mike Brown, but that is because he coached a very successful Cleveland team. The first time around, LeBron was there, but his coaching style was very sort of let the players run it, let the star make the calls. And I don't think that is going to fit in New York because there are no stars that I count. For me, even if it's just for 3 seasons, 4 seasons, go with Tibbs and look at his history of developing players, putting in a structure. He is hard and he will make your players work. But if you have him for 2 or 3 years, they may be quite tired by that point, granted. But they will know how to play defense. They will know how to run an offense. They will know what it takes to become a champion. You look at the players he's developed and he's brought on, and they all speak fairly positively of him. You know, your Derrick Roses and your Jimmy Butlers.
Yeah, they both love him.
Yeah, I think that's the best way for New York to go at this time. But we will see. And in terms
I think
jersey out.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm being a little bit facetious with that, but like I said, Luka and Dallas the way forward with my Kansas City Chiefs link. But yeah, it's making me a bit jealous. All these people going back to MSG, but maybe I could watch Luka score 50 in MSG next season. That might be the way forward. But in terms of
watch anyone score 50 on the Knicks.
Well, not certain people. I don't want to watch James Harden score 50 on anyone. But yeah, I agree with you in a way that the Tibbs might be the best appointment for a 3 or 4 year period. But I think in that 3 or 4 year period, your stars will develop and you'll be less of a joke of a franchise. Mm-hmm. But I don't think you'll sign a marquee free agent. I don't think you'll win the title. And then I don't think your young players will re-sign just because someone else. Everyone goes somewhere they can win the title now. So I think he could stay, but I don't know the right appointment. I'm not sure. But we'll see what happens in the future with that one. So now I think it's best to pass on now to our interview with Rich. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, let's go over to that because it is a great interview.
Cool. So we're just going to move on to that now. It was really good. Rich is a big member of the NBA UK fans page, big Celtics fan, and we spoke about a range of things. So we're just going to move on to that now. So here's the interview with Rich. Welcome back, guys. We're joined by Ben, as always, but also Rich Barrett from NBA UK fans. How are you both doing? I'm
good, thank you. Rich?
Yeah, good, thank you. Long day, really hot where I am as well. I don't know how your guys' weather is, but it's hot and it's... Obviously, I don't want to have the windows open too wide because you'll get everyone walking past with their dogs chatting rubbish. So, it's a bit sweatbox in here, but we're all good, mate. We're all good.
Yeah, I think we're knocking 31, 32 here, and I'm on the third floor of our house doing this because it's quieter and it's very sweaty. Very sweaty.
Yeah, excellent. So where some of the best material is made.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for coming on as well, mate. It's a pleasure to have you on. We've spoken a few times before on Twitter and WhatsApp and that, but this is good to get you on.
Yeah, great. So I really appreciate being asked, to be fair. I mean, like I said, I've checked out your podcast already. Really impressed with what you're doing so far. Keep up the good work, and thank you for asking me. I am privileged to be here.
No worries, mate. No worries. Thanks for listening.
All good.
Yeah, I think last week we spoke a lot about The Last Dance, and I think you said that now you want to binge that just by listening to our little pod that we did.
Yeah, 100%. I was doing stuff last night, and I like to put my earphones in and walk around and in my job, listen to a pod. And I was listening. I think I was like hanging up the washing or something when you were talking about the Steve Kerr bit. I was like, yeah, I need to watch that again because it got right in my feels. The whole story about his family, and just like it's amazing how certain parts of it stay with you. Now, I mean, I was lucky enough to be old enough and watching the game when the second three-peat happened. It was just about the time I got into it, which we'll talk about in a bit. So it was proper nostalgic for me, that is. But there's so much stuff that I didn't know about, because if you consider, obviously, at the time, the coverage we had over here was 3 Channel 4 shows a week, a copy of Slam Dunk magazine from my letterbox every Friday, or newspaper even. It was printed on newspaper, and then the NBA monthly magazine that Channel 4 did as well. So there's so much that I learned from it and so much that I didn't know about. Yeah, so Last Dance, phenomenal. And yeah, I'm fully blaming you guys that I'm probably going to binge watch the whole lot again.
Yeah, we were saying the same as well. With like, it's 10 hours of episodes, isn't it? But the amount of stuff you remember in a 10-hour, like you'd think, oh, I'll just sit down and watch it, and you'll forget all these little bits. But
yeah,
it's just crazy how much it sticks with you. That just proves how good it is.
Yeah, I know you guys said on last week's pod production value, because I know you both mentioned obviously you're keen on your films.
Yeah.
I don't think I've watched anything that well done in. I can't remember watching anything that well done, and I think we had a lot of hype for it. There was a lot of build up and there was a lot of excitement. And sometimes when you have something like that, you can watch it and be like, yeah, it was all right. But I was just sat there at the end. I was just like, wow, that was brilliant. So well done. Absolutely brilliant. And you just come off and you're like, yeah, when can I start watching it again? So
yeah, lived up to the hype, didn't it?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, we'll just start with a little intro, mate. So do you want to tell us a bit more about yourself, when you got into watching basketball, and how you got involved with NBA UK fans as well, which is obviously a group on Twitter that you're a big part of?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I am in my late 30s. That's as much as I'll tell you. I won't give you the exact number. I live in the Midlands, obviously a little place called Solihull, which is nice. I've got a girlfriend and a daughter who is a legend, and she's actually got quite a good throw on her as well, so we're going to need to get her playing hoops.
WNBA, here she comes.
Well, maybe. She's quite short, though, so she's going to have to be a point guard.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
All good. So, yeah, how did I get into basketball? It's, so, like I mentioned before, it was around about 1995. So, there's a lad I went to school with called Richard Wellings, who's actually his birthday today as well. So I wish him happy birthday. But he was a basketball fan as well. And you guys can probably relate. When you're at school, there's very few of you that like basketball. And my interest had sort of come about because my dad would travel to America and bring me the odd magazine back, and I'd have a read of it. And he brought back like an Athlon Pro Sports Annual, which I still have. It was like a 95, 96 version. And then Channel 4 started doing their coverage, so I started watching that. I was sat next to Rich in French class at school, so we just used to just talk hoops all lesson. I had the same teacher for a French and a German class, and I was good at German, and I was shocking at French, simply because the lad I sat next to me just didn't do any work. Like, we just used to talk about basketball all the time. So that's kind of how I got into it. And yeah, and I just loved it. Like, the coverage on Channel 4 was probably quite cutting edge for the time. They had like 3 shows. They had one on the style and that on a Thursday night. They had a bit of a roundup show on the Sunday morning with some highlights. And then they had a live game on a Wednesday night, I think it was, at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I used to put a video in and record it on video. It didn't matter who was playing. Right? It did not matter. I would record it and I would watch it back several times. So yeah, that's basically how I got into it. And like, I guess when you're a teenager, you sort of have hobbies. So I drifted away from it for a little bit until around about 2000-ish. So only a couple of years of doing other stuff. And that's when obviously I fell in love with the Celtics in 2002. But we can talk about that later on.
Okay, cool. Were you more of a general NBA fan before that then? So you just
Yeah.
supported players rather than teams?
Yeah, do you know what though? I think watching The Last Dance made me realise, I was probably a Bulls fan like most other people.
Yeah.
And I think I'd be a criminal if I didn't sort of own up to that, because I watching it, I was like, I loved that team. So they were probably my team. I just don't recall being like an avid Bulls fan. I do have a Dennis Rodman vest from 1996. It was the first basketball jersey I ever bought. And it was huge, but it does fit now. I just don't know where it is. I know it's in my house. But yeah, I haven't been able to lay my hands on it. So, but yeah, it was a magical time, like, because if you think about it, obviously, with what went on, so you've got Jordan coming back off his retirement. You've got Pippen, Rodman joining the Bulls as well. You've got people like Tony Kukoc playing, and it was a magical time to fall into a sport when the most dominant player, arguably ever to play the game, I know there's lots of conversations around that, has just come back after his little baseball hiatus. And they formed a team which won 72 games, so they broke a record there, and then obviously 3 seasons of winning. It was a pretty magical time to be around and watching that. So,
the perfect storm. Everything just came together.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I was very interested in other teams though as well, because I love the whole culture side of it. I love trying to like learn the geography and work out where teams were.
Yes.
And some of my favourite players wouldn't have necessarily been Bulls players. Like, I'm an absolute Mitch Richmond stan. Like, I love the guy. I think he's incredible. Like, I picked him for my fantasy 2K team because I just think he's amazing to watch. But yeah, there's other players who obviously caught my attention as well. So yeah, great time to get into a sport.
Jerseys as well were big back then as well. Everyone had different jerseys and like, which jersey looks the best? Oh my god, I'm going to buy this Suns jersey because it's bright orange. Like, I think that was a big part of it almost. And Bulls jerseys were everywhere in our shops as well. I remember back then my mum buying me a Bulls jersey when I was very young. And that's just because the only one that was there because he was the most famous player.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I funny you mentioned the Suns because I bought my Dennis Rodman vest in a mall in Phoenix because we were staying in a place called Scottsdale. Went over there. I actually went to watch the Portland Trailblazers play the Phoenix Suns. So I did get to see Charles Barkley play, but it was a dreadful game. It was something like, I don't know, 88, 84 or something like that, and it was poor. But yeah, still
old school basketball that was.
Yeah, it was. It was proper like muck and bullets game. Like they were just going at each other. There wasn't a lot of shots dropping, as you can tell from the score as well. I mean, I know they didn't score as highly back in those days, but yeah, it was still a fantastic experience at the age of 14 to go and do that and be wearing a Dennis Rodman vest that was basically a dress to a Suns game against Portland. But yeah, so it was a magical time, to be fair. Loved it.
Cool. And how did you get from that into the NBA UK fans side of things?
It's a bit of a strange one. I mean, I've been following basketball again since 2000s, and then around about, I don't know, I reckon probably about 2015, 16, I might have followed them on Twitter. I dug out some old stuff out of the loft. I had some Chicago Bulls stickers, and I was just like, I was sort of, when you get into clear out mode, you're like, right, I'm going to clear out all the stuff that I don't need anymore. I was like, and I don't like to waste anything or throw anything away. So I literally shot NBA UK fans a message probably a few years ago saying, look, I've got this Bulls stuff. Does anyone want it? And I think it was Dean who was like, yeah, I'd love to have that. Thanks. Posted it to him, thought nothing more of it. Carried on tweeting about basketball. And then around about February 2019, I remember where I was because it's quite an iconic moment for me because it's done a lot to enrich my life. So I remember it well. I was sat in the lounge and I got a DM on Twitter from Bryn and Dean, or from NBA UK fans account. And they just said, look, we're looking to expand the group, and they'd identified myself, Rich Stone, and Jimmy Sink as well. They said, "Would you be interested in coming on board?" And I was absolutely blown away. I was like, "This is awesome!" Because I'd tweet. Loads of people will say this to you. They'll tweet about basketball from their personal accounts, and then their mates will say, "What is all this? What is all this?" And like, okay, if you don't like it, just unfollow me. And I was like, "Well, this is amazing!" Like, I mean, I was so chuffed to have been asked as well because I don't pretend to be like a nerd or a stat head or know loads and loads about the game, but I do love the game. And I will tell you, if you ask me like, which version of Marcus Smart I like best, I'll probably base it on which of his hairstyles I think was the best one. Do you know what I mean? So it's that sort of thing. But I was like really, really happy about it. And I told my missus, and she was like, "That's brilliant." And as you'll know if you've watched some of the other stuff, it came at a really good time for me because I had some other challenges going on. But I was basically, you know how it is when you watch basketball, you don't sleep a lot, okay? So I was blessed with being able to be awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, tweeting about games that I was watching, and it was great because the guys had said that the account it wasn't doing as much as they wanted it to do. Large part of it to do with the fact that Bryn lives in Dubai. So for him, like he's 3-4 hours ahead at the best of times. So games are literally happening as he's getting up and going to work. So I mean, it was
That's
great.
almost worse timing than us.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say Snowy did just a little bit off topic. Tom Snowden did a brilliant live with Adam Lafondra a little while ago, who lives in Australia, obviously, because he plays for Sydney. And he was basically explaining that NBA games are on in the afternoon when he gets home from training. I was like, wow, I'm so jealous of that. So, but
that's perfect. When you go to America, it's nuts. When you turn on the TV and it's like, I don't know, 5 o'clock, and if you're on the east side, and you're getting all these games all the way through to like 1 a.m., whereas normally I'd have to be getting back up at 1 a.m. to start watching games. It's nuts.
Exactly. I remember like there's been times when I've had to get up earlier for work, and I was like, oh, okay, I might wake up 45 minutes early and watch the third and fourth quarters of Golden State game. Like that's how crazy those West Coast games are for us. But sort of getting back on topic. Sorry, I will digress a little bit. You'll notice that. So basically, I just sort of threw my heart and soul into it and just did loads and loads of work with it. And we started to really see the rewards as well. Our following increased. I mean, I live tweeted pretty much a large part of the draft as well when it happened, and that was a lot of fun. And it was great. The interaction's been phenomenal, and how we've moved forward with it as well lately. It's just been really, really something to behold. Like we've all enjoyed it, and we're all loving where it's going.
On that note of like moving forward with it lately and things, how have you found this sort of the COVID epidemic and everything? How's it affected you and the NBA UK fans? You know, how's it going in the sort of the group you have together?
It's a strange one because just before, so end of February, we had our first little watch party in Birmingham. We put it together and we said, look, let's test the waters because it's quite a central location. We've got a Sunday night in Walkabout Bar and Boone. Let's see who makes it. And like some people came from like we'll call Matt Shearer Megabus Matt because he sat on a Megabus for about 7-8 hours just to get there, and turned up for a Sunday night in Birmingham, and that was phenomenal. Like and out off the back of that, we were like, right, we've done Birmingham. It was great. We had around about 20 people. So then we're stepping it up. We're going, right, we're going to do London. And we had a plan. You guys probably know that we had a plan in place for a watch party with 2 games in London. And then I was watching the Utah OKC game. I was waiting for it to start. And obviously things started happening. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? So obviously COVID hit. Games started getting cancelled. The league got cancelled. Well, hit hiatus stage. And we were quite disappointed in that sense because we just thought we were hitting some stride with like sorting out events, but we just had to completely change our direction. So we'd seen like Mark, like Dean or G-Shack had jumped on a live with Mark from the Throwback Store, and then G-Shack was like, "Sure, I'm going to do a live." And so he did his live, and I thought, guys, I'm going to do a Celtics team special. I was like, I know like it'll piss off a lot of people, but it'll be fun. So I did it. And obviously, I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was a good laugh, like, and then so I sort of thought, okay, I've done Celtics now. I was like, right, what's next? I started the team specials. We did a Lakers and a Heat one. We've done loads of them since, and we've basically seen our Twitter following, which is quite steady growth at the best of times anyway, has gone up. But our Instagram following, we're on something like late 500s, maybe early 600s. And we're about 1250 now. So from that side of it, it's basically doubled our Instagram following by the content that we've done. So you could kind of say that we've reaped the rewards of the hiatus, because rather than go flat and just go, oh, well, this is crap, there's not really anything to talk about, we just seem to get these ideas. But I think I've got to credit the lads for that, because we just bounce ideas off each other, and no one's ever afraid to say, have you thought about doing it that way? Why don't you maybe think about doing this? And it's it's such a tight, neat group as well, and there's no prisoners taken, and like no one gets offended by anyone saying, I don't think that's a good idea, or maybe you should do this instead. And the growth is there to be seen, and again, it's kind of helped pass the time, because it has been a long time since we saw anyone actually play some proper basketball.
Yeah, and I think that's, credit to you guys. You've shown that how versatile and how adaptable we can be as people, and businesses can be, and as well, if you love something enough, it's always going to be relevant and part of your life, and you just mold around that. And I think you've done a brilliant job. So hats off to you guys.
Thanks. I mean, I appreciate the kind words, but what I've got to say, and I know this gets said all the time, we always talk about community, but it is so relevant. I mean, you look at some of the lives that have been done. So for this first one, for the Celtics one, I was like, right, I'd like to get Boston Britt on, a couple of other people. And then Boston Britt's like, do you want me to ask Carl Draper? And I'm like, wicked. And then for later ones as well, it's the lives are great on a Saturday. They do sometimes, we have more guests and they get longer. But the fan account owners are usually the guys who have the connections and pull in like the guests that we have from overseas. So do you know what I mean? It takes a lot of work, but it wouldn't happen without everyone else in the chain and in the picture.
Yes, team and a network.
Yeah, of course, because we'd just be shooting like random emails or Twitter DMs to people going, "Oh, we're going to do a team special on this. Do you want to do it with us?" And they'd never have even had any interaction with us. They might just be a bit like, "Yeah, maybe not." But when the relationships already exist, it's like I sort of pitch it to the guys who do the lives with me for the team specials. I'm like, look, this is about your team. Who have you got that you think would be good on it and relevant and will make it a good live? And they tend to go away and pull back some wicked guests. I mean, Saturday, like, I've got to be honest, Memphis Grizzlies is not a name that usually fills you with like massive levels of excitement, right? I think we can
not
all say that.
Not in the UK either, I'd say as well.
And
nowadays,
with Jar and that, and Triple J, like, more so. But traditionally is not. You don't think Memphis Grizzlies. I have to see that. But the guest lineup for Saturday is brilliant. Like, it is. I can't wait for Saturday. It's going to be amazing. So.
And is that every Saturday you're going to carry on doing them, you think?
Yeah, we're kind of. I mean, I do call out the fan accounts regularly and say, guys, who wants next or who's got next? Like, I think we're looking at Denver the week after, but we're sort of getting to a point where the most active fan accounts have probably had theirs. But again, if any of them are listening to this and they want to come on and they want to get some guests on, we might do a double team where, like we've done before with Miami and Lakers, where we have just 3 from each. But we will always find something to do a live about. I've got lots of ideas in the pipeline. So, yeah.
That's good as well. And when basketball comes back, I guess that's even more to talk about on those lives as well.
Exactly. So there'll probably be all sorts of stuff. I mean, what I'd love to do some Saturdays is just randomly open it up and just say, right, send an invite, come in, tell us what you want to talk about. Do you know what I mean?
Get people to join, like fans of the actual account as well. Yeah,
exactly. So it's not so. I mean, we never script them. I will share with people content ideas, but the thing I've always tried to avoid with it is like, I'm going to tell you exactly what question I'm going to ask you. I don't want them to do that because it becomes really scripted and really synthetic and that sort of thing. So the live element has to be the live element. So someone jumps in and I fire some questions and talk to them about it. So if we get the followers just jumping in, then we'll have exactly that as well. And they can fire questions at us, vice versa. So there's always something we'll be doing. So it's become a bit of a staple for us, the Saturday live at 5. So we're definitely enjoying those.
I think that's what we're trying to do as well, is keep a good flow and the questions come naturally. And on that note, I've got question 4 here. No, I'm just joking. But you said there that you're getting excited and things for everything ramping back up and building back up.
Yeah.
Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you that the NBA is coming back at this kind of time? And how do you feel about the bubble idea? Is it going to work?
Excited, way over 10. Can't put a number on it. It's astronomically higher than 10. Nervous. It's nervous excitement. I am very concerned about the logistics and obviously the players' health, anyone associated with it. I mean, I was thinking about this today actually while I was in work because I know we were going to talk around this. The state of COVID infections in Florida is pretty alarming. I think we all know that. But if they do it right and they do it properly, it's an unknown quantity, isn't it? I mean, I know we've got football back and stuff, and they're going to be doing the testing every day, that sort of thing. Some multiple times for doing the saliva testing, isn't it? I love it. I love the thought that it comes back, it works. We get the rest of those games, we get the playoffs, we get a champion. They potentially fill the stadiums with a bit more noise, so it's not as quiet. I love the idea, I love the concept, and I pray to God that it does work. Just because I think we all need hoops back, but I don't want that to be at anyone's expense. Like, you look at some of the guys around the game, we've got some old coaches out there, yeah. So
yeah, they're a lot more risk than the average player.
Exactly.
Aren't they? Just in terms of the age bracket, really.
Exactly. I mean, I sort of think about it in terms of if anything happened to Pop, like, do you know what I mean? Pop. Do you know? That's it's a horrible thought, but it's a very real situation.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the people playing; it's all the staff, and it's obviously the people they come into contact with. I don't know. It concerns me, and it is a worry, and I just hope it works. And there's always going to be the strange thing, like, oh yeah, someone couldn't play in the finals because they had COVID, and then did that impact the outcome of the finals? And I know you guys talked about it, there being potentially always be an asterisk next to it. I don't think there can't be an asterisk next to it. I don't think it necessarily needs to be the asterisk that everyone wants next to it, like, oh, they only won because of COVID. I think it's like you guys say, they won despite COVID happening. Exactly. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, we see it as more of a challenge, if I'm honest. Like, when you look at some of the stats behind it, and obviously we a couple of players have got it and stuff, but when this happens, me and Ben were talking about it earlier, we were saying that people are going to get it, and big players are going to get it. So people are going to miss game time, and those teams have got to win those games without those players. That's going to be hard for some teams that lean on like star players.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you take out, I don't know, so if you knock out Kawhi and Paul George out of the Clippers, if they both get it at the same time, that's huge. Do you know what I mean? You take out LeBron and AD out of the Lakers, massive.
And if they win a series without those players, like that's more impressive than winning any series without COVID with those players. Do you know what I mean? In normal years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the Celtics running the Cavs up to 7 games when Kyrie was out altogether and Hayward was injured. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's those are the sort of things you're like, okay, that's pretty impressive. But yeah, there'll be people who look at it on the other side saying, you get your salty people who go, well, we would have won if it wasn't for that. I was like, yeah, but think of the bigger picture and the impact that's had on the world as a whole. Do you know what I mean?
I listened to someone, and he went back through the past 20 years of championships and said why, came up with an excuse for why the team that lost in the finals lost. And you could theoretically put an asterisk next to every single year for the past 20 years and say, oh, well, they would have won because of this, or they only won because of this. Yeah. So why put a negative on it? Why not look at it as, like you said, well, like we've all been saying, they won despite.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so much more impressive.
Yeah, and I think that resonates a lot with me from listening to your pod from last week. I think it was. Yeah, it was last week's one.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it like that. I wasn't thinking about it in it's a negative. I was thinking about all the sort of connotations around it. But listening to you guys talk about it last week, I was like, yeah, do you know what? They put a really interesting spin on how it's actually much more of a challenge. So shouts out to you guys for sort of putting that more in my head as well and making me think of it on a different level. So.
Oh, shit, yeah. Well, we're trying to be a bit more positive spin because it's a tough subject, isn't it? Because because you've got the whole thing that people's lives obviously matter way more than anything, but they're trying to maximize safety for people, and maximize safety for everyone, but also help a lot of people. Like the amount of people that will watch not just basketball, if we take basketball out of it, sport in general as like a mental break. Like I know when I lost my mum and dad, like football, as in Leeds for Leeds United, that was like one of the main focuses to get away from all that, because you just focus all your attention on football, and when they win or you don't win, like it's like highs and lows, isn't it? I think and basketball is going to do that for a lot of American people when they're suffering so bad now.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. I mean, we talked about this with people before. We've spoken to people who have had their mental health challenges, and a lot of them will say that basketball comes about as being a factor in their life because of the time of day that it was on, and the sort of effect that mental health has on your sleep patterns. So yeah, I think you're right. It's something for people to look forward to. So it's a massive benefit if it works, and it is gambling. It's gambling with people's health and well-being. And I don't really agree with the argument saying, oh yeah, they're paid loads of money to do a sport they love, because that is true, but they're not paid loads of money to do a sport they love and risk their life doing. Do you know what I mean? No more than, I don't know, jumping into Jason Day's wife in the front row of a crowd if you're LeBron James, that sort of thing.
But definitely. People don't see that side; they just see the money, don't they? And the lifestyle they lead been so different. And there's a lot of players that don't earn. They earn good money. They earn good money for, like, you're talking your 10th man. They're earning good money for 4 years. Maybe then they're out of the league. What are they going to do the rest of their lives? Like, they need the money. They also don't want to risk their family's life more than their own. Like, it's a very tough subject, I think.
Yeah, it is a tough one, and I don't think there's necessarily a right answer. I think with Adam Silver as well, he's a pretty smart cookie. Like, do you know what I mean? He's not an idiot. If he thought legitimately this was a dreadfully bad idea, and that players and staff and families will die as a result of it, like in vast numbers, he wouldn't do it. I do have that trust in him. I genuinely think that he's decent enough to see past the numbers and make the right decision. So it's still up in the air, isn't it? With what's going in Florida, someone might turn around and say this is completely unfeasible. When the teams start training and people start getting if the infection rates rocket, they'll probably just have to pull it. But we'll see what happens. So. But super excited, super excited.
They're trying to implement as much as possible, aren't they? That's the key. They're going to learn as they go on, almost, and that's why they've left this big gap to try and get people back into the country, back as a team before starting. And they're not just like, oh right, everyone come back end of June, go to Orlando now, and we'll just start playing straight away, or you can start doing friendlies straight away, for example. They're giving it enough time, I think, which is key. Like I said, Silver's a smart cookie. Like, he knows what to do more than me or you or anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, the media always filter out what we read and see, but I don't know. In the most part, I tend to think that I'm a good judge of character, and I sort of look at him and just go, he's just got one of them faces that you kind of trust. Like, if you worked for him, you'd be a little bit scared because he looks a bit like the Demon Headmaster.
Yeah, he does. He's a scary looking bloke, but he's a nice bloke.
Yeah, but as soon as he starts talking to you, like, yeah, we're good. So
honest,
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So I hope I'm right on that, and I hope that the right decision's reached. But I hope we get hoops back, but not at the risk to anyone's life. So yeah, I think that's the most important message.
Definitely. And in terms of the bubble, we were talking about it earlier. Do you think 22 teams is right, or would you like to see it smaller, just to reduce that chance of people getting it, I guess, for less bodies?
I think it was right in the context of who could reach the last 16. I know potentially there's teams there who are literally probably a couple of games, a couple of losses off being out of the picture altogether. But from a fairness,
like Wizards and Suns, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at first, when I saw the 22 teams thing, my first reaction was like, what is this? What on earth is this? What? And then I looked at it, it was like, right, I get it. It took me a while to sort of suss it out and say, right, that makes perfect sense, because as much as some of the teams who aren't involved would have played in some of the games, it's more realistic to give some of those teams a chance to hit the playoffs. And I do think, in all honesty, it's got a lot to do with Zion as well. So whilst we talk about Adam Silver being a man of good morals, I feel like they trying to want to lever Zion into the playoffs if they absolutely can. So there's a little bit more to it, but who knows?
He's a big draw, isn't he?
Massive draw. I mean, we didn't see nearly as much of him as we wanted to this season, for obvious reasons like the injury. And he's an exciting talent. Like, there's not been anyone as exciting as him probably since LeBron, as far as I can remember. So yeah, I think they do want us to see more of him. So there's a little bit of an integrity issue over that, but I think they justified it and said that, and it makes sense. But yeah, I really feel for not so much the teams, the 8 teams not included, for the fans of the 8 teams not included. Now, if you ask any Knicks fan, they'll be like, yeah, do you know what? I'm fine with it. I'm cool. I don't want to see any more Knicks basketball this season.
Yeah, how do you feel, Liam?
Yeah, ex-Knicks fan. Remember that.
So those are the people I feel for. But I think if we're that close, we're getting that close to the playoffs anyway, that they wouldn't have seen those teams involved anyway. So they would have been watching other teams play. But yeah, it seems right. It makes sense. I get it. I understand. It's still a lot of people in a very small area. Quite a small number of hotels as well, because they're going to be mingling amongst each other.
Over 3 hotels, I think.
Yeah, there's 3 hotels. One of them's something to do with aquatics. It's like the barge or the boat club, I think it is. Something like that.
It's a yacht. I think it's yacht club. Yeah,
yacht club. There you go. Yeah. So that would have been funny if they could have got all the banana boat crew at the yacht club. But
that was the dream.
That was
the Trailblazers let that one down.
Yeah. But yeah, I get it, and let's see how it pans out. I mean, they could have done it differently. They could have gone straight to playoffs, but that would have sucked for the teams who are maybe like a game or 2 off the playoffs. But yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I am excited and interested, and I think it might potentially shape how things go in the future as well, like with the playoff structure. Because the whole like flattening they've talked about for ages, flattening of the East and West thing with the playoffs and have 1 versus 16. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, they get like a little trial run, don't they?
I heard Robin Lopez was trying to swindle his way into the yacht club because he really likes it as a hotel.
Right.
And his brother's there as well, isn't he?
Advantage or not?
Yeah, fair play. Nothing surprises me with Rolo. Like he's a character, a big time character.
Yeah.
So.
Going back to earlier, you mentioned you're a Celtics fan. I think everyone knows that who'll be listening. What do you think more just on their side of things with the bubble and how it's going to affect them? Do you think they'll be stronger, weaker, and what are your overall thoughts on if they can win the title this year?
I'd like to think that they'll probably not have too much impact of it. What I get from the Celtics is they're a very, very good unit in terms of player harmony. So they'll all be in each other's pockets quite a lot of the time, but I don't think that'll cause them a problem. There was a brilliant photo from about the start of the season, I think it was, where quite a large number of them went to the cinema together to watch a film. And someone had definitely been passing the green around because there was some seriously questionable squints going on. Like Marcus Smart and Kemba, I think it was, looked absolutely toasted. But I think there was only a couple of people missing, like maybe Gordon Hayward, because obviously the amount of kids he has. But yeah, I think as a unit, they're pretty tight. They're pretty together. Kyrie's obviously gone. He was. They don't back chat and talk smack about him and say he was divisive, but you can't help but thinking that he might have been.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side of that, if there's any player beefs, you don't. I mean, we don't have knowledge of. There might be certain players who's like quietly don't like other players for whatever reason. Maybe girls in the past, or think they should have been drafted higher. They might be stuck on the same floor of a hotel as one of these guys, and you just don't know what could go on. Do you know what I mean? You're in close proximity to your adversaries, like people you're going to have to play against night in, night out when it comes into the playoffs, who you're then seeing
in the same hotels.
Yeah, you're then seeing them in your hotel lobby. You've got to try and be polite when you're trying to be in that killer mindset of like, nothing's going to affect me. And one of them walks up to you and go, "Hey, do you want to go and grab a soda?" Do you know what I mean? It's it's a strange one. I mean, I don't expect the Celtics to win a title this season. I'd like us to get quite far. I did say on the Philadelphia Live on Saturday that I don't want to play Philadelphia in the first round, but then I don't really want them in the second round either, or the conference finals. I just don't want to play Philly.
You need someone to beat them for you, then.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's the team that I'm. I mean, you're not pessimistic. That's not the right word, but you're cautious of the Bucks, right? And I'm cautious of Toronto because I think Toronto are massively underrated, and they're doing it again. They're doing it again this year. Nick Nurse is a genius.
He's incredible. I love Nick Nurse as a coach, and I think he's got ideas on ideas on ideas. And any team facing him's got to be a bit worried.
Yeah,
I like the chances though against them. I really do.
Yeah,
opposed to the other two options.
Yeah, I just don't want to play Philly, and people. And if you go, I said to Mark Murray on the line on Saturday, there was a time when Marcus Morris was going up in Joel Embiid's face and like doing 3-0, 3-0, like in his face. Like we don't have some of those players now that I think would have been a big factor. Like Al Horford used to piss Joel Embiid off. Sorry for swearing. So he used to annoy him so much. He's now sat on his bench. Yeah, like that's a big deal. Like the Sixers,
he's the best defender as well on Embiid.
Exactly. So the Sixers are 3-1 on us this season. So yeah, I don't want to see him, but it might happen, and it might be in the first round. So.
I've got the Celtics down as a sort of a dark horse team for me. Like you said, I think their cohesiveness and their work ethic as a team is incredible. And since the All-Star break, Jason Tatum is another level.
Oh no, unbelievable.
He's dangerous. I don't necessarily think you guys will get it this year, but next couple of years, it's going to be Celtics time again, I think.
Hopefully so. Hopefully so. I mean, you kind of question, like, how long do you legitimately say, yeah, we're rebuilding, we're building for a title, we're building for a title, until you just go, win now, like Lakers did when they just like said, right, send them out, get AD, we'll fill it with like roster players around it, and we'll just win now. I saw a horrible trade rumor today. I don't know if you guys saw it, about sending out multiple players for Rudy Gobert, and I was sat outside work, like on this like wooden planter thing, and I nearly fell off it. I was just like, God, please don't let that happen.
No, that's not a good trade.
No, it wasn't.
You need to score more points in the East than you do with a player like Gobert. Gobert won't even play, I don't think, in latter minutes of big games, will he? With the amount of small ball that goes on now in the NBA.
Exactly. I mean, and I don't rate Cantor. Like, I think I get the Cantor thing. He's a lovely bloke. It's a little bit
funny.
Exactly. He's a little bit of a Boban for me. Like, and I know Cedric, so he's probably a lot more talented than Boban. Boban's great though. So he's almost like your comedy sidekick. And Cantor, fair play to him, has been out there when it mattered, protesting, rallying, showing his face, showing his loyalty. Yeah, he does commit, and he's the kind of guy you want around your franchise, like, because he makes other people happy. But
you don't want him as a starting centre.
Yeah, that's not going to win you chips. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's not. I think you're right.
You got Taco shooting threes now?
Got what? Taco shooting three? Yeah, mate. Come on. We've seen videos of Andre Drummond shooting threes in the gym, though. And
JaVale was shooting threes yesterday.
Yeah, it goes on, doesn't it? And I'll tell you another gym video that I saw. I am a sucker for this, right? I get excited by gym videos. I'm a little bit wiser now with some of the centers shooting 3-pointers, but I saw a video yesterday of Michael Beasley absolutely going off in a pickup game.
I saw the same video.
And like,
same video.
He's just like, I'm here, baby. I'm here, baby. I was like, sign him up.
I like.
He didn't miss a shot.
I just think he must be a slightly abrasive character because he cannot stick around, can he?
No, I think he's a lunatic.
Life, I think.
Yeah, I think he's just a lunatic, like, and he rubs people up the wrong way. I think you kind of want to love him, but you're just like, yeah, just shut up now. You're annoying everyone. Stop talking. Go and be quiet in the corner. We're trying to focus on this, and he's just like yaddy like all the time. But yeah, he looks like he's still got it. Like,
I remember him beating your team at MSG as well. I remember Porzingis and someone else was out. I think Beasley scored like 38 to get the Knicks like one of their 18 wins, and it was against the Celtics. I remember.
Do you know this happens to me so much as a Celtics fan? Like players that I really, really like at the time, or think, yeah, do you know what? I'd have him on my team. It's like Karis LeVert, right? Absolutely love Karis LeVert. I think he's wicked. Like drops a 50 on us this season. I'm just like, yeah, thanks, bro. Appreciated. So, but yeah. So
on that note, you know, we've all got our lists bouncing around.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you say your top 3 sort of favourite players are?
Okay, yeah. I mean, I know we talked about this and we were going to do it differently, but I'm really glad you've come back with this to say my favourite 3 players, because you will probably have seen various different things that I've done, questions that I've asked for people. My favourite player in the NBA at the moment, number 1, is Damian Lillard. I just love the geezer. I just think he's just a killer. Like, he's a handsome devil. He can also rap as well.
He says he's a good rapper.
Yeah, he's a good rapper. I'm not going to go on and start buying all of his music. It's not really my thing massively, but I just love him. I just like, I don't know. I've always liked the Blazers. I think the Blazers uniforms. I think sometimes you can elevate the status of a player in your mind because of like the uniform. Like if he had a dreadful like. Yeah, exactly. If he had like a dreadful like pink and brown like jersey with like a horrible logo on it, it might be a little bit tougher for him to be in that top 3. But
like any Cavs jersey ever.
Yeah, some of them were pretty tragic. But no, I do think that it's like subconsciously can elevate the status of a player in your mind when they look good in their unis as well. But just as a player, like, I mean, I remember that dagger 3 last season in the playoffs against OKC.
It was a little bit sweeter. It was in Westbrook's face.
Wasn't it Paul George?
I was Paul. I know it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Paul. It was also hilarious watching the video of his sister, who's not a small chick, right? And she came flying. Yeah, she came flying onto the car and she was like, "That's my brother," and like that. And it was brilliant. But it was just ice cold. And he got up and the camera's right in his face and he's just nodding. And it was the little wave as well.
Cool.
He's just a cool guy, and he's a great player as well, and he's a leader. Like people have said, he is an absolute leader. And I know you look at the Blazers' record, but it ain't great, and there's more to it than that. But yeah, Damian Lillard, number one.
He wants to be a one-team man as well, which is quite unique. And nowadays, everyone wants to move to win a title, but he said he wants to stay there and try and win a title there, which I think is admirable as well.
Yeah, it is, and sadly, it will probably land him with 0 rings, and he'll be in like the Iverson, Charles Barkley bracket.
Yeah,
but with his dignity, and the respect of everyone,
and a lot of money.
Yeah, and a lot of money, and also having sent a tweet to Matty Evans from UK Lakers. After he sensationalised Damian Lillard going to the Lakers. I don't know if you guys remember
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. It was cool, that one.
It was really funny. And obviously, I think Dame retweeted it. And we were just like, that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And then some...
on what you said about the Celtics, you're worried about playing the 76ers. If I was the Lakers and I was looking down at Portland, I don't think I'd want to play them.
Fair play.
I'd rather play anyone else down there.
Yeah, fair play. I mean, they've got a bit to do, haven't they, to shore it up, like. But
yeah,
I think at the minute, like, I don't know. I called the Lakers as champs, I think, early in the season. I'm sure they were my prediction on the 10-question NBA UK fans thing we did. Mm-hmm. I still can't see past them because I just think, like, if you take out the fact, obviously LeBron last year wasn't in the playoffs, so you've had playoff Bron for like over a decade, right?
Yeah.
So he had a break. He's now had an even longer break due to this. And LeBron's not the kind of player who, if he doesn't pick up a basketball, is going to get worse. Like, if he sits on his ass eating tacos all day, he will get worse because he'll lose a step. But I just think, like this, so he had the hunger of coming up, not playing the playoffs. He got AD, surrounded himself with some players. He's going to get J.R. Smith back. That could be... I just hope he remembers which way they're shooting and what time's on the clock. Yeah.
I hope he doesn't, just so we can have that moment again.
And I just think, I don't know, I can't see past the Lakers, and I think it would be fitting. And I know like some of these things might sound strange from a Celtics fan. If we're playing them in the finals, I want the Celtics to win, obviously. If it's anyone else, I'm happy for the Lakers to win, because I think it would be fitting for LeBron. And I just think the overriding factor for me is Kobe Bryant. I just think what a fitting tribute. Like the start of the year, losing Kobe, all the other stuff that's happened, for the Lakers to lift the trophy at the end and go, yeah, this is for Kobe, I don't think you would find many Celtics fans with a dry eye. Do you know what I mean?
No, it'd be fantastically sort of bookended, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, where we up to? Sorry, it's me going off.
Who else you got on your list?
Right, okay. So, number 2, easy for me, Jason Tatum. Absolutely easy pick. Last season, I was disappointed. I spoke to Adam Taylor about this, and like me and him were talking about Jason Tatum, and people saying, "Oh, he's improved loads on last year." He needed to improve loads on last year. Last year was disappointing for me from Tatum because you saw how good he was the year before, and he has
he looked more timid last year, didn't he? Which was strange after having such a good year before.
Weird. I don't know what it was like, and I don't know if we'll ever know what it was. But obviously, his rookie season, he was out there smashing it, doing his thing, and then it just went quiet. And I was like, "Come on, man, don't let that be a flash in the pan because you're too good for that to happen." And then this year, he's come back, especially after All-Star, but absolutely firing. Right. And he's frightening. He's absolutely frightening. Some of the stuff that he can do.
He's going to be key if you guys do get up to the Eastern Conference or the finals in general. He's going to be the main man, isn't he? I think.
Absolutely. I think he's your leader. Like he's got to be. It's a reasonably young squad, and it's not a squad that's been they've been around each other for a while, but he's just naturally going to have to take a step up. So we will see a lot of what the Celtics do in the playoffs will hinge on what Tatum does. The only thing that slightly worries me is he said, "I haven't picked up a basketball for 4 weeks" when the hiatus kicked off. The difference between maybe that and LeBron is you might lose a little bit of your accuracy. But yeah, we'll see. So Jason Tatum, top 3 for me, 100%.
Nice.
Number 3, though, I'll tell you what, this has caused me some real heartache because there's
a lot to choose from.
There is a lot to choose from, and I think my third choice may surprise you, but it's just someone who I've really enjoyed watching them develop this season. It's Bam Adebayo.
Nice, great pick.
That's a good one. That is. I was thinking to say Marcus Smart.
Mate, I love Marcus Smart. Like, I put Marcus Smart in a whole other level to everyone else, but it's like a hero factor. It's not in terms of best players or favourite players. It's just a bit of an idol for me. But Bam this season, like again, like we're taking like another third year player. I think that is right. But I've just enjoyed it, and what I love about it is he's enjoying doing it. Like he for me, he's an absolute lock for most improved player, absolute lock. And he's just been brilliant, like, and he's had fun doing it. Like, and I can't say enough how I think it's got a lot to do with Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, they've got a good bond, haven't they, together?
Yeah,
on the court.
Yeah,
exactly. It's the work ethic that Bam's got. It's what's pissed Jimmy off in other places that he's been to, where he thinks people can't be bothered. You look at Bam. Bam's just out there working, grinding. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes for a third year player. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, Bam
he's one of the best passing bigs as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so much to his game, and I know Dan Healy will listen to this and he'll absolutely love it, and he'll text me after going, Rich, I'm so glad you put Bam in, but I'm not doing it for anyone's like props. Like, it's because I genuinely think he's got a great future, and I've thoroughly enjoyed watching him. So he's one of my favourite 3 players at the moment. So
yeah, like you said with Jason Tatum, you hope it continues. It's not just that 1 year flash of the pan kind of thing. You want him to kick on from this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't want it to be on, off either. I'm not well, I don't think any of us are interested in someone having a great season, then a crap season, then a great season, then a crap season. It does happen with players.
Yeah.
And you just think, I mean, you see like parts of people's game fall off altogether. And you're like, where did that go? Like Avery Bradley went for a bit after he left the Celtics and went to Detroit. And then he was ping-ponging around. I think he went to the Clippers. His defence was terrible. And that's one of the foundations of his game, had been how good his defence had always been. But I mean, he has seemed to go. And I mean, he's obviously on topic as well because he decided not to opt in. Fair play to him. Everyone makes the choices. So
got to do what's right for your family. I think that's one of the key messages about all this. To be honest.
Exactly. And I don't look at it and think about anyone going, oh well, you've been paid enough, because we've covered that. It's not about the money. It is about the bigger picture. And if you legitimately, like someone said to us, when the watch party was still going to happen, because COVID was just starting, so a couple of people said, you know what, I've got elderly relatives, I'm a little bit worried about them, so I'm going to give my ticket back. And we're like, okay, absolute respect for that. No problem at all. Do you know what I mean? This is not something to be messed about with. Like, so.
No, it's not. I think doing stuff like that just always, people remember that, don't they? They remember the good gestures that you'll do, that you guys were cool with that. I think that means a lot to people.
Yeah, true. I mean, I think more on Avery Bradley. I don't want him to get any bad press with it, not because nothing to do with him being an ex-Celtic, just because I think he's made the decision. Like Trevor Ariza as well, I think, said the same thing.
Yeah, Trevor Ariza, it was to do with he wants to see his son. He's got a month where he can see his son, and it's an ongoing court case, so he's doing it for his family as well.
No, exactly. Bigger than basketball.
Exactly, yeah.
So
definitely. I think that's a good place for us to end it then, guys. Thanks for your time, Rich. It's been
a pleasure. Very welcome. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Sorry, and you know that I tend to digress, so it's going to be a long one again.
So do we. That's good.
Excellent. Okay, guys, I've got one more little question for you, actually. I'm just going to throw in there. Because obviously, I was listening to your podcast last week, and I know you guys are sponsored by Mugs NFL, and I know that he does his t-shirts and stuff as well. I potentially got Patrick doing something for me on the horizon when I get my artwork sorted, which I'm looking forward to. But here's a little one for you. So I was thinking, because you said that he can put any graphic on a tee. I was thinking how funny it would be to have a graphic of Paul Pierce being pushed down a corridor in a wheelchair on a t-shirt. So I wanted to ask you.
You need to get that.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to ask you two guys. I'll give you one T-shirt each. Pick your funny NBA image and put it on the T-shirt. Which one would you go for?
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with J.R. Smith looking bemused when LeBron's staring at him, wondering why he hasn't taken a shot in the last second of the first round against the Warriors. That's gonna be my favourite.
Solid choice.
And I had 2 here. And it was between Swaggy P looking away as his 3 rims out.
Yeah,
but the one that I'm going to go for would be Tim Duncan's face when he gets ejected from the bench for making a joke to his teammate.
Yeah, great shout.
That's a good one.
Seen that? It is incredible.
Excellent. That is a great shout as well. Yeah, 2 great shouts there. Wicked.
What memory would you get of this current Celtics team? Maybe a Tatum dunk on LeBron?
No, I'd have the photo of them all absolutely blazed when they went to the cinema. I'm not even joking because it was an iconic picture. I think Taco was there as well. Maybe he wasn't. But they just all look so cooked. I love it. It's like a family. It's like a Brady Bunch photo. So yeah, I'd have that from this season. Even though I think it was just before the start of the season. So
you can wear that to the next watch party when all this is said and done.
Yeah, I think that might have to happen. To be fair, I'll have to dig out the photo. It's somewhere deep within Twitter, and it's probably been snaffled up by Celtics PR. And no, we can't have that out in the public domain.
Are you guys planning on doing watch parties again? Just a quick one to end before when all this is done and everyone's a bit more happy with going out and about?
Yeah, we've never stopped talking about it. Okay, I mean, the plans for the London one, like G-Shack, Dean put in so much work to it. And it was just looking really, really exciting. I mean, we had the joy of it being it was like a 5:30 tip and an 8 o'clock tip. And we had the venue was sorted. He checked out the venue. The guy who owned the venue that we hopefully will still use is some guy from Serbia who loves basketball. What could be better? Short answer: if everything is right and we're comfortable with it, obviously government guidelines can be followed. What you got to remember is if we stick a watch party together, there's people who are just going to want to sit and chat to each other, and then you take away the 1 meter plus rule. So we have to make the right decision with everyone's health's got to be paramount. That's the thing. But I don't know if we get towards the maybe deep into playoffs, that might be when it happened. But more conversations will be ongoing. So we'd love to do another one.
I'm sure we'd love to be there as well.
Yeah,
definitely. We'll come along whenever that is. We'll be there.
Excellent. I mean, there's so many people I can't wait to meet. The community is like. There's people I speak to all the time that I've never even sat in front of. It's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah. It's crazy how many the bonds you form, isn't it? You've never even met each other.
Yeah, big time.
Cool. All right. Well, that's a good place to end it. We just wanted to mention, what's your Twitter handle, mate? For anyone who wants to go follow you and listen to any Celtics chat or NBA UK fans chat.
So the Twitter handle for NBA UK fans is @NBA_UK fans. Cool. It's the same for Instagram for the lives without the @ on it, obviously. My Twitter handle is @Rich Barrett 1.
Cool. So, all right. Make sure you go following people.
Yeah. Cheers for that.
No worries. Cool. All right. Well, thanks for that. We're just going to end it here. Thanks again, Ben, for joining as always.
An absolute pleasure.
This will be posted out on our Twitter page @_Hardwood Hoops, and obviously our sponsor again for this episode is @MugsNFL. So a big thank you to those guys. Next week we're going to do a top 10 player draft between me and Ben. So that should be cool. So yeah, look forward to next week. See you all later.
Bye.
Cheers, guys.